Hi, I hope everyone's having a beautiful day today. In this reading, I'm going to be doing a twin flame energy check-in reading. See what's going on with your twin flame right now. A look at their thoughts and feelings towards you in the connection, some blocks, obstacles, challenges, or fears that they're dealing with, their possible actions towards you, and then also get some advice from spirit about the connection and some message cards from their higher self. There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is this crystal. Group 2 is this crystal. And group 3 is this crystal. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose this crystal. So let's start by taking a look at the thoughts and feelings of your twin flame towards you and the connection right now. Okay, we have the Magician, King of Cups, 7 of Swords, and the Angel of Love. So this feels like your twin flame is sitting in the energy of recognizing that they've missed out on a valuable opportunity with you. This may have to do with the last time you were interacting with them, the last time that you spoke with one another, and they had held back some kind of deep truth that has been germinating inside of them for quite some time. And they might have almost felt like today is the day. I'm going to make this proclamation. I'm going to tell them how I feel. It might even be something where they were getting ready to confess some fears about the nature of the feelings towards you, and instead of choosing the path of openness and honesty, they chose to like withhold information. Maybe just tell you they were fine, brush things off, and there's a sense of like looking for a window of opportunity or hoping for a window of opportunity to come around once again, or something that they can create in order to have this like deeper conversation or start to take things to the next level. This may have also been something where they became very overwhelmed. It's almost the idea of like cold feet here, and could have backed away or even said some things like inflammatory things that could have caused you to reflexively kind of close off, second guess any sort of progress that had been made or seemingly made within the situation with one another, in terms of what you were building towards, either a fresh connection or like a return or a reconciliation. This can also be kind of like thinking back on how they may have abruptly sort of ghosted you or given any kind of mixed signals. Whatever has happened the last time between the two of you that left a lot of questions, left you sort of feeling maybe even that you don't hold as much of a place of importance in this person's life as you had come to believe that you do or that you did, or efforts that you had made to kind of like meet them in the middle somewhere, be very compassionate and understanding, efforts that you've made to be kind of like honest about your feelings, try to work with them according to their love language in order to sort of find some sort of middle ground or create positive movement forward, where you might have felt really rejected or like your efforts had gone unnoticed. They're reflecting upon this, and there's almost like a heaviness of heart with this kind of energy. I'm hearing I never meant to mislead you as well with kind of these energies right here. So it feels like something where they've almost sort of dug themselves into a hole in this situation, and they're looking for a way forward. They're looking for a way to kind of rise from the ashes, resurrect some sort of opportunity with you, because even if it was like silence or withdrawal of energy, or something where they didn't reciprocate as openly or as deeply or as honestly as they could have, there's a sense of feeling your pain, sensing your disappointment, almost seeing the light kind of fade out from your eyes, or kind of your energy sort of wilting right in front of them. or any kind of awkwardness that might have occurred, any sort of misunderstandings. It's almost like they didn't mean for that to happen, and yet it has happened. And so now there's a lot of thought about, like, how do we move forward from this? How do I clean up what has happened here in this situation without making matters worse? So let's look at some of those blocks, obstacles, challenges, and fears that they're dealing with right now. Okay, we have love begins and passion ignited. So this can definitely be like a fear of commitment. This person could have almost like an avoidant attachment style, kind of with the Seven of Swords here, where they feel a lot for you, and yet they feel very trapped in terms of maybe material circumstances, obstacles in their life, obstacles in your life that make this almost a challenge to kind of see this connection through to the next level, or to currently sort of envision long-term success within this. They're kind of almost lost in the details at this point, maybe even just that kind of fearfulness inside of themselves. It's like, I feel a lot for you. I want to take a leap of faith. I've created unnecessary kind of blocks between the two of us, or a distance, even in the form of misunderstanding. But I am falling in love with you. I realize I've always been in love with you. My feelings for you have intensified. I never meant to create distance, and I'm wanting to bridge that gap, but I'm not really sure what to do in order to do that, how to motivate myself to kind of like move out of the feeling space into an action space. So they may be very overwhelmed by their emotions, by like the full sort of nature of best case and worst case scenarios. This can also relate to the fact that they may recognize that you're everything they've been looking for in a person, in a partner. And so it's kind of like a leap of faith forward. This seals the deal in a very major way. And that might be kind of bringing up old fears of sort of like, okay, if we take this leap of faith forward, if I do something by way of like this deep confession, this passionate confession, an honest telling of my true feelings for this individual, then that puts me in the vulnerability zone, where I am now kind of exposing aspects of myself emotionally, and you could break me. You could break my heart. You could devastate me. This person may put on like kind of a tough exterior, like a tough guy or a tough girl exterior, but they could be a real softie inside. They could be somebody who feels very deeply, is very sensitive, and it's almost like they don't easily let people into that kind of soft center. The world, or even people that they're typically in romances with, might experience that hard shell. It may be very difficult for this person to like let their guard down. They may kind of have a lot of sort of emotional maturing to do. There could be a lot of unprocessed wounds, or they could just be somebody that's like really sensitive. Like when they get hurt, when they get heartbroken, it is devastating in like a very intense kind of way. And so it feels like this is somebody who has been let down many times in the past by different people, platonic, familial, romantic. And so it's almost like they're wanting to let you into that place within their heart where you could totally destroy them, or this could be the best thing that ever happened to them. That this love could heal a lot of the maybe kind of like fears of attachment stemming from like a fear of abandonment, an avoidance of getting attached out of like a fear of being hurt, a fear of being rejected. When people kind of get to know the real them, like any kind of number of things that are going on inside, there's a sense of like, if I miss out on this opportunity with you, if I let the fears get the best of me, I'll miss out on kind of the beautiful effects that this connection could have upon me. I miss out on the opportunity to share and exchange love with someone who's actually good for me. I miss out on a healthy connection, or the opportunity to build that with someone. And so it feels like they're really wrestling with those fears right now, to stay silent, to remain in this kind of like safety zone of whatever has happened, where maybe they just kept quiet. And so it's like the silence is a barricade, and they're needing to break the ice, or anything that they've done that has kind of like pushed you away, made you sort of question where things are at, or anything where they've like hurt your feelings in some sort of way. This doesn't feel to be the energies of like somebody that was cheating, or, somebody that like maybe returned to an ex. It's almost just something where there could be like hurt feelings, words that were said or that were not said, maybe something where they canceled out on plans, or just kind of ducked out of the situation. in some way where you felt very kind of like emotionally wounded from them. That it's a sense of kind of them being aware that that has happened, how to move past that, how to bridge that gap, and not just kind of remain sort of stuck in this loop of like they're calling you in closer and then pushing you away like a hot cold dynamic, but really allow sort of this connection to unfold in the most beautiful way, to sort of take place without any of these limitations. So they may be in their feels at this particular point in time, trying to kind of work up the courage to speak something, speak those loving words, profess those loving words, maybe even tell you I love you for the first time. So let's take a look at their possible actions towards you. Okay, we have the Chariot, 10 of Cups, and Diligence. So this feels like something that they almost will kind of dip their toe in the water, sort of like step closer to you or give you some kind of like indication that they're like mapping out a course to move into more of this vulnerable space, more of the full disclosure, more of like, I'm open to whatever happens in this situation. I'm ready to dive in fully. I'm ready to go all the way in this circumstance with you. But it's almost like they're revving up their engines to do that. This can kind of talk about something that they may tell you about from their past. This could be family issues. This could be like disappointments, heartbreaks, and love that could almost come across when they first sort of convey it as like, is this just an excuse? Are you just trying to justify sort of your behavior or the way you talk to me, or are you kind of just trying to point the finger of blame elsewhere? But it's almost trying to provide you some sort of context to kind of their background, their backstory, something in the telling of this that kind of lets you know little key details or indicators about how sensitive they really are as a person. How they're almost kind of straddling this line of like hurt people, like that might have happened even in the form of silence recently in this situation, or words that were spoken in this circumstance, but they have some kind of awareness about that. They're self-aware enough to know that this has happened, or that this is kind of a pattern that they've identified or discovered within themselves, and it's almost like the telling of this is an effort to kind of move closer to like, I'm aware of this, but I don't expect you to just accept it as it is, because I don't just accept it as it is. I have to find a way to kind of evolve beyond that, to move forward beyond that. So it doesn't feel like it's the full confession quite yet of like, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, you're the person of my dreams, you're who I've been looking for. But it's something that kind of almost touches back on sort of your last awkward moment, your last encounter with one another, in the form of almost like an apology that comes in sort of like a roundabout way. Sort of they're dancing around the issue in some sort of sense that could be preparation for, it's almost like somebody that feels like apology in the form of changed action is the best solution in this situation. So again, it's like giving you that context as far as like how they operate in emotional relationships, key details about themselves that gives you a greater understanding of like, this is what I'm working with this person emotionally. This is where they're at, so that you can kind of manage your expectations as far as like the pace that things evolve, maybe even get to a place where not that you're operating as like a doormat, but you're not taking it as personally. If they get triggered, if they kind of need to go at a slower pace, like if things have been very hot and heavy between the two of you before, or it felt like, wow, we're really in sync with one another, things are really progressing. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like they fumbled the situation, or it kind of came out of left field, sort of an abrupt change, or energetically they just sort of pulled away. There's a sense of really wanting to convey to you, in not a cliche sort of way, but almost like it's not you, it's me. And not just saying that and kind of leaning on that excuse, but it's almost like these are some of the things, or this is a thing that's happened. This is a thing that I'm afraid of. This is kind of my experience. This is my background as far as, or what I've seen or what I've witnessed or what I've been a party to as far as, like romantic relationships that left me worse for wear, or that created like a certain, almost somebody that might be like, it's hard for me to trust people. It's hard for me to believe that like good things last, or, maybe they start to kind of depict for you or fill in the blanks as far as ideas that you may have had about them coming from like a broken home, or, circumstances that have happened in kind of their previous romantic cycles with other people that'll show you sort of more of where they're at in terms of how healed fulfilled they are as a person, and therefore how ready they are to embark on kind of a next level love story with you, so that it educates you more as far as like, okay, do I continue to hold space for this person, or is it something where it serves my best interest to kind of pull my energy back in kind, let them rise to the occasion to meet me, because they may be in the midst of kind of taking a leap of faith in terms of extending themselves to you emotionally, because they're having to work through a lot of fears, a lot of like emotional scar tissue almost, in order to come to this place of like, I can trust in the blossoming of our love connection, that it's different from like other people who had rejected me, other people who had abandoned me, other people who had broken my heart or left me worse for wear. Something that they kind of provide or present, that is sort of, again, like tiptoeing back into this situation, not with an energy of vagueness, but kind of just like, this is what I'm working with, as I'm trying to kind of paint a better picture for you of like who I am on the inside, to move towards that energy of, we're back in sync with one another again. We can evolve forward beyond this, but it's almost sort of like a side quest through some sort of emotional wreckage within themselves, in order to be able to come to that place where they're comfortable and confident, with taking more bold steps forward with you towards deepening or really substantially repairing this connection. So let's see what Spirit has to say about this, some guidance about this situation for you. Okay, we have arrows. Surround yourself with protective energy. So yeah, this might be kind of some guidance for you to just sort of manage your expectations with this person. Allow them to kind of show you, demonstrate to you, not through kind of just empty words or honeyed words, but something as far as like consistency, consistently opening up, making efforts to kind of reach out to you, be consistent with the communication, keep the dates or the times when you've kind of arranged to be with one another, speak with one another. Let them show you at this particular point in time that they are actively wanting to participate in kind of moving the situation forward, because it almost was like something where they've kind of like stumbled or stalled out in some sort of way, based on this kind of sense of like, okay, this feels really good with this person, but I remember times in my past where good things led to really sort of bad feelings. And so it's having to kind of work their way through all of that in order to be able to participate with you in a manner that is healthy and that is productive. So it's the sense of almost like, when this person reaches back out, or maybe during your like next few interactions with them, try to kind of ground yourself in some sort of way, in terms of like, okay, it feels so intense, it feels so good, it feels like we're headed in the right direction, that this is a time to really sort of take their actions, take their words at face value. Don't read so much between the lines, or lean too heavily into the energy of like the vibe between the two of you, because it feels like there's another component, there's like a shadow part of this person that is trying to almost kind of keep them within their comfort zone, as everything within this situation and what they're feeling for you and what they're experiencing is causing them to want to like step beyond that comfort zone. So they need some time to kind of break out of a previous version of themselves, almost like shed a layer of themselves that was mistrusting of love, was still kind of dealing with some wounds, was kind of hurt, guarded, or skeptical as far as, love being something lasting, love being something good. And so it feels like they're actively kind of working towards that, but let them kind of meet you at that place where they're, not just kind of making promises that they can't keep, but it's sort of like things that are said, that there's action steps that match up with that. And that's you really kind of like holding space for this person to kind of grow and evolve, while also simultaneously sort of honoring your need maybe to remain within any kind of like guardedness, any sort of shelter that you've created for yourself out of like, okay, there were hurt feelings, or it seems like there was a misunderstanding, or something has changed within their kind of approach to you. It's almost like anything where you felt the need to kind of close off, that's in place for a good reason. It's not at this point kind of evidence of like things you need to work on emotionally. It's almost like your intuition saying, hey, this person is kind of in a volatile place within themselves. They're needing to kind of step up into a healthier vibration. They're needing to kind of level out within themselves. And so it serves the connection by you really holding that ground of that, almost like they're needing to sort of prove to you that it's okay to soften into more of like the trust or the flow state within this situation. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self. Okay, and we have I sabotaged our connection out of insecurity. Yeah, so there's that confirmation right there, almost like it felt too good to be true, or they panicked, before kind of taking the next step with you. This could have been somebody who you had a very intense experience with, a very intense conversation with, and then the next day it was like they were cold, they were distant, they were avoiding you, or they ghosted you altogether. And so it's not reflective of anything that you have done wrong. This is something inside of themselves, like an old wound or a pattern that they're in the process of trying to break free from in order to be able to kind of continue to participate in a consistent manner with kind of that higher vibration that you've reached with one another. They also say, I'm ready to commit. So this is somebody that wants more in the situation with you. They don't want whatever limit has been placed currently, emotionally, energetically, actually between the two of you. They're not wanting that to be kind of the furthest that you go with one another. It's a sense that they're not happy with kind of things that have taken place on their part, things they've done, things they've said, even the energy of silence itself and kind of the barrier that has created, like an iciness that has been created in this situation. So it feels like they're trying to kind of chisel their way through that in order to be able to kind of meet you in this stance where they're able to give more, not just kind of make promises and follow through, but give more to you in a consistent manner. And they also say, I'm seeking advice from close family and friends. So this could be somebody that might be looking into like self-help. They may be like listening to videos, motivational speakers, something like that, and kind of identifying maybe some inner child wounds, something about their own attachment style. Something where, they may have like a trusted friend or associate who actually gives good advice, who may be kind of letting this person know, like, hey, don't let a good thing slip through your fingers. Don't let fear of the past repeating itself kind of cause you to miss out on the opportunity to create something wonderful, with this person, with you, the viewer. Something that it feels like your person is very like consciously aware of some stumbling block that has been created in this situation right now. Even if you're still in contact with one another, it feels like something in the nature of that communication might have changed, that you may be picking up on, or they're having a lot of kind of, they're feeling very guilty or very heavy about that. Any kind of like misunderstanding, anything where it's sort of like they've created confusion for you. They're trying to kind of work through that within themselves. How can I show up and be consistent? How can I not be afraid of this love? How can I run towards this person as opposed to like running in the opposite direction? So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We have I, G, B, N, C, U, T, R, K, O, R, L, N, H, and Y. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose this crystal. So let's start by taking a look at the thoughts and feelings of your twin flame towards you in the connection right now. Okay, we have the 9 of Swords, Knight of Cups, Temperance, and Action. So there's a lot of fear within this energy, a fear that you may move forward, that somebody else could be in your orbit, in your life. This can speak to like competition, other suitors. This may indicate somebody that you're in a no contact or at a distance from, that never got over you in the situation. They have a lot of unresolved feelings within. A lot of time has gone by since your last interaction, or since they were like sitting on, an urge to confess these feelings or to try and make amends. And there's a sense of almost like time running out. They could be watching you from afar and maybe witnessing some kind of glow up, witnessing you sort of turning the page and moving forward with your life in other ways. They may have seen you kind of move on or attempt to move on with other people, maybe through social media, or, people like in the community that have sort of reported back to them. They could have like people observing you, people that have seen you out and about, maybe on dates. Maybe you're on like dating websites, for example, and they've found that, they've discovered that in some sort of way. And there's almost a sense of like, I need to take action. I need to make my move, or I'm going to be locked out in this timeline of like, I've left this person out in the cold, but now I'm out in the cold. I walked away from this situation and I can't gain access to this person in the same way that I once did. This is a sense of like the grass was not greener on the other side. They didn't find what they were looking for elsewhere. There's a lot within them emotionally that it feels like is coming to a place where they could have been fighting their feelings for you for a long time. They could have been very overwhelmed by like the challenges in this situation and sort of felt maybe, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's too difficult. It's going to take too much to kind of make this work. This might have been a situation where there wasn't a lot of support from other people or a lot of encouragement from other people for them to just kind of go for this situation, to sort of fight for you in this circumstance. And so it's almost like they took the easier route of people pleasing, of not trying to make more of an effort to create a central place for you in the situation, in their life, letting you slip through their fingers, kind of pushing you away, any sort of combination of those factors that it feels like has filled them with a lot of regret. If it's been sort of a long time since you've been in contact or since you were last dealing with this person, it feels that they have come to a place of recognizing that they were very afraid of love. They were afraid of kind of the genuine article, the real love. They were afraid of the nature of the connection between the two of you. Either those energies itself, or even afraid of kind of this love story and how that would be received, or might have been, potentially judged, or is actually judged by other people in their life, that have sensed they're kind of like seeing that from a different perspective, like the opinions of other people, or even just kind of like a fear of love itself. So like the opinion of their shadow side, the inner critic sort of maybe telling them like, you're not lovable. If this person, kind of discovers who you really are, you'll be rejected. Who are you, based on sort of your track record in love, or who you are as a person, kind of like a negative self-image, like who are you to think that you could be experiencing like high level or divine love when you are merely just like a flawed person. Things like that may have really sort of influenced their decisions in the past, their actions or inactions. Almost somebody that might have felt like you'll be better off with someone else. I can't give you what you're looking for. I'll just let you down inevitably, and so it's best to kind of just push you away, or kind of sabotage the situation right now. In the past, that might have been what they were thinking. And it's almost like they've come to their senses. They've kind of moved beyond this place of almost like a doom and gloom sort of attitude towards the situation. And there's a lot of longing. There's a lot of desire. There's a desire to reconnect. There may have been a desire to reconnect for quite some time. They may have felt the sting of this right away or very quickly, sort of like, I made the wrong choice in this situation, but they've just sort of sat there. May have tried to date other people, might have tried to move on, or kind of just remain single. Didn't attach with anyone, maybe some casual flings or nothing at all. And it's a sense of sort of like all the signs point to you as their person. All of these indicators, or the memories that they have, are like they were happiest in your presence. You made them feel understood. You made them feel safe. You made them feel seen. You made them feel secure. There was nothing to be fearful of in this situation, and yet they acted out of a fear-based place. And so now it's almost like this panic mode that's setting in. Is it too little too late? Can this damage be repaired? Do I have the strength and courage within myself to not just admit my feelings, but to confess that I felt this way all along? And sort of what would that dredge up? What kind of old wounds would that open? So it feels like they're in their thoughts at this particular point in time, kind of like worst case scenarios, a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety at sort of missing the boat, missing the mark, missing the opportunity with you here, that may or may not motivate them to try and take action. So let's take a look at some of the blocks, obstacles, challenges, and fears that they're dealing with right now. Okay, we have wisdom and destiny. Yeah, this is the energy of like, if I'd known then what I know now, I would have made different decisions. They could have been very much in a pervasive sense of denial about a tendency towards self-sabotage when your connection, you like split apart from one another. It feels that they've evolved, they've matured, they've grown in some sort of fashion to where, again, it's like they didn't find what they were looking for elsewhere, or choosing the path of being like loyal to their pessimism, loyal to their heartbreak, or maybe even the opinions of other people. This could be friends, this could be family members, this could even just be like a fear of persecution in general about the love connection. Interestingly, almost like the sense of there was a very pure and sort of true bond or love that the two of you shared, that it's almost like might have been very triggering to other people that only had like settled in lower vibrational connections, or, you know, were kind of like pessimists or sort of doomers in general as far as like love and romance is concerned. They might have gotten a lot of pushback, or people could have teased them, or there could have just been a sense of like when the two of you were together, you just glowed. It was just so radiant, and that caught a lot of attention. It captivated an audience, and that might have been something that made them very self-conscious, a fear of being judged, a fear of the connection being like picked apart almost by jealous people, envious people, low vibrational people. And so it's almost like in the past they may have sort of just pushed this away in order to sort of shroud themselves, in order to kind of go with the status quo, or just sort of blend into ordinary connections, or not be in something that put them so much in the spotlight energetically or actually. And it's almost a sense of like, this didn't provide them with any sort of solace. It didn't provide them with any sort of relief. They're seeing you as their destiny, as like their person. They've not been able to kind of like find anyone like you. They've not been able to replace you. They have looked for you in other people, or it's almost a sense of like, you're everything that I've been looking for. You know, you're my 10 of cups, you're my 10 of pentacles, you're my wheel of fortune, I hit the jackpot with you, and I threw this away. I squandered this. I sabotaged this, and I have no one to blame but myself, but my own kind of like fears, my own sort of insecurity, my own kind of warped mentality as far as love and partnerships, and kind of how other people factor into that, or the opinions of other people, where there may be kind of a struggle to forgive themselves, or to kind of figure out a way to sort of re-spark this connection, how to make up for lost time, how to provide you with explanation about like their motives, what had kind of been the instigator in certain actions they took in the past, because there's almost a sense of like, I need to tell you the full story if we have any hope of moving forward, but I'm embarrassed about what that true story is. Or, you know, if you kind of knew how I let these theoretical sort of situations sort of govern my actions, would you look at me as like a cowardly person? Or the opinions of other people, and how those factored into like our private love connection with one another, would you look at me as somebody who is just a follower, is you know, just kind of a people pleaser? Or am I the kind of person that you would feel confident to kind of lead moving forward in our connection, that you'd feel confident kind of giving your heart to, sort of combining your life with? So there's a lot where they feel like ashamed about their actions in the past, and the influences about that it's almost sort of like, how do I explain this? How do I kind of make all of this known so that you have the full truth, and would take me seriously, or put me in as like a contender for your heart at this particular point in time, if you'd even like hear them out after certain things that might have happened. So let's take a look at their potential actions towards you. Okay, so we have the Nine of Pentacles, the Magician, and Potential. So it feels like this person is very overwhelmed by the nature of challenge in this situation. This may be somebody that just in general has developed or maybe always had kind of like a pessimistic attitude towards life. Maybe the point that they're at this in their life, things that have happened, the result of choices made has led to a lot that has crumbled. Life isn't as glorious as they thought it would be. The idea of like the grass wasn't greener on the other side. They didn't find what they're looking for. That might apply to things more than just love. They may be just going through the motions of their life, kind of stuck in a rut, stuck in a very mundane existence that doesn't really feel fulfilling. And so it's almost like they're not feeling their best at this particular point in time. And so it's almost like a challenge, like a struggle. What do I have to offer beyond just here I am at your doorstep, here I am showing up and kind of expecting that my presence will be enough to kind of interest you, you know, cause you to want to talk to me again, to work through certain things. So it's almost like a hesitation. It feels like sort of with this little snail here in the bottom of this Nine of Pentacles, sort of like going really slowly in the direction of like heading back towards you, because there's a deep fear of like rejection or sensing, seeing and sensing that like you've moved forward. It's been so long, you may have had no other choice but to kind of like, you know, pick up and look in the other direction as far as love and partnerships are concerned. This person might have put you through a lot of anguish in the past, and you've had to like rebuild yourself, redefine yourself, reinvent yourself in some sort of way. This experience with this person could have really shaped you or even scarred you in some kind of sense emotionally. You know, this might have caused like a lot of sort of spiritual or emotional kind of chaos or like the need for deep healing as a result of kind of things that have happened and a path of fear that was chosen. And so it's almost the sense of kind of like, I don't want to disrupt your life. I don't want to also kind of face this version of you that they almost feel is like unrecognizable in some way. You're even more radiant than you were before. It's almost like they're even more certain inside of themselves than they were in the past, that like, you're my person. But now there's this huge distance that's been created. Now there's kind of this reservoir of pain between the two of us that needs to be sort of dealt with in some way. It needs to be sort of navigated beyond in order to really manifest like a fresh start that brings forth joy and isn't just a repeat of like negative cycles in the past. So it feels like this is somebody that will almost continue to kind of remain in the shadows, maybe watch from afar, trying to sort of like plot and plan and strategize and map out a course towards you, come up with some excuse, almost like somebody who's trying to come up with the perfect reason, sort of script, the perfect thing to say that would be, you know, significant enough where you'd pay attention to it, something that would be kind of honest enough. Like, this is somebody that almost knows they can't just come in with a casual, hey, how's it going? That there may be a lot to kind of talk about or a lot that they're needing to kind of bring forth that's evidence of them having evolved and changed in some way beyond the person that you were dealing with before. And so it's almost some effort behind the scenes sort of invested this time is like, how do I do that? How do I present that? Is it safest to kind of just shelter this pain with me, this disappointment? Is this just my karma to watch this person sort of move on with someone else and I'm left high and dry? Or can I find the motivation within me to climb this mountain, to present myself as is, to trust that the wisdom that I have, the life skills I've had to develop, or, you know, kind of even the wisdom through loss that has been cultivated within, that this is substantial enough, it's meaningful enough, it's enough of a treasure to be able to kind of earn my way back into a place of consideration in the life and the heart of this individual, you, the viewer, whom they had disappointed in the past. So let's get some guidance from Spirit about the situation. Okay, we have Lady, enjoy growth and reap rewards. So this is definitely the emphasis for you to just continue to focus on you, focus on your abundance, focus on the things that are going well in your life. Anything that you've sort of poured yourself into as maybe like an outlet, like a creative outlet, something where you're working on like your finances, you're working on your career, you're working on like your health, your wellness, you know, your well-being, any sort of change in perspective. where you've kind of taken the pain and kind of the hurt and the heartbreak and used this as motivation to kind of become better as opposed to embittered. All of that, continuing to pour yourself into yourself, saturate yourself with all that love that you would wish that this person would have reciprocated, that maybe you chased them for a while, they were running from you, you've stopped the chase and you're pouring back into yourself, continuing to do that and sort of, trusting that the love that is meant for you will align with you at the right juncture in your life, whether it is this person kind of putting in that effort, really going the extra mile to sort of present themselves to you in an energy of honesty and openness rather than like vagueness, willing to do all the things they wouldn't do in the past, kind of claiming this connection openly and honestly. If that's sort of what comes along for you in the future, it's almost like you'll know if the time is right, if what they're saying, if what they're presenting, if it feels right, like you've had some kind of glow up, you've learned yourself, or you've come home to yourself. Trusting yourself when and if this person presents, or if somebody else kind of, comes along, like a new love, a new lover, a soulmate connection, and it feels right for you. This is almost a sense of like you've aligned with your timeline of abundance, your timeline of beauty in all manner of speaking. And so not putting any limits on yourself as far as like how that will be delivered to you, in who exactly the person is, in what form that love that you were trying to like give and pour into sort of the wrong direction, or into kind of a non-reciprocal situation with this person in the past, and how you've sort of changed the polarity of that. You've poured into yourself, now how it's getting ready to be reciprocated to you in the form of another person, continuing to just sort of focus on you, focus on what matters, what's sort of pouring into you, what's feeding you as well currently. And this is like the best strategy for the optimal outcome, it feels like, for you first and foremost in this situation. You may have exhausted all resources as far as like, well, I'm looking for what's best for both of us in this circumstance. It's almost like you've needed to become very selfish, and that has kind of kick-started you into sort of the next level in your life, in your healing journey, in your ascension journey, and just kind of your journey in life in general. And so continuing to kind of have that abundance mindset will guarantee that you will align with kind of the level of abundance of love and in all ways, that you're meant to in life, as long as you continue to keep your eye on like the silver lining, creating that silver lining for yourself, focusing on optimism rather than kind of just putting your life on hold, or stumbling on the possibility of like, well, maybe this person will return, maybe they finally get it, maybe if they come back around it'll be different this time, sort of like, if that arrives, take it at face value when it comes, judge it and determine it when it shows up. If it's somebody else that kind of like beats this person to the punch, kind of like makes it into your life, makes it into your heart space, you meet somebody new, you meet somebody interesting, maybe there's somebody you're already connecting with who is showing potential, don't miss out on the opportunity for like happiness and contentment and fulfillment just because you're kind of maybe hooked on or stuck on, or you were in the past, and it might resurface kind of the idea of this person from the past who chose a path of fear as opposed to love. Yes, they may come back around, but it's almost like you've come too far in your life and on your journey to kind of just invest in like what ifs at this point. So let's get some messages from this person's higher self. Okay, and we have, I know we belong together. Yeah, so this is definitely that energy of the wisdom. They know now. They wish they had known then what they know now. They might have had to find out kind of the hard way, not just in terms of they couldn't find sort of the level of connection or the level of love they experienced with you in the past. They might not have found that in other connections, but it feels like in general, some sort of path that they had embarked upon in their life in general, it didn't turn out as good as they thought it would be. Any kind of victories, any kind of achievements, it's like it's not as sweet as it could have been. I left something crucial behind, or I hurt people in the process of kind of needing to move to this place where I'm on top of my game. I'm the king of the hill. I'm the queen of the hill. I've got everything that I want. But there's almost like an emptiness or a void space, it feels like, within this individual. And they're directing a lot of their thoughts back to sort of like what's happened with you in the past, wishing they could turn back the hands of time and sort of fight to keep you closer as opposed to like push you away, as had been the case. They also say, I know we are soulmates. So again, this might have been someone that was in denial about their feelings for you in the past, or anything that was sort of like a challenge, or, you know, even like a supposed challenge, something even internally within themselves. And there's regret over a decision that was made to choose that path of fear as opposed to the path of abundance. They've never met anyone like you since. They've never met anyone like you before. It's almost like there may be a lot of self-directed anger as well at this point, at allowing fear, the perceptions or judgments of other people, interferences in the circumstance where it wasn't just easy, it wasn't just linear, it required some effort on their part, and so they might have just abandoned this situation or let it go. There's a sense of almost like, I shouldn't have done that. I wish I'd done something different, because you're the type of person that I want by my side. You're a quality person, as opposed to maybe very like artificial or, just kind of like shallow people that they've encountered since or even before you. They also say, I got triggered. Yeah, so this is definitely somebody that is, wants to kind of let you know, at least, from this vantage point, in this context, like, it wasn't you, it was me. There was nothing that you did wrong. This is a circumstance of, they looked at kind of the whole equation of this situation, or like a fear of love that they had held inside, and you offered the real deal. You offered something genuine. You offered your whole heart, and it's almost like they didn't feel worthy of that. They didn't feel that it was in safekeeping with them, or that there would have been almost like too many kind of attacks or challenges against this love. Maybe there were, when you were together or were like building a relationship in the past, or there was a fear that that would happen. That could have been the case in even like a previous relationship. A lot of people in their life that were very oppositional towards it, and that could have been a big factor in kind of how a previous circumstance crumbled and fell. And when they met you, there's almost like, okay, if everyone in my life's not on board with this, it's just going to be history repeating itself, like in that other circumstance. Or maybe they were already starting to get pushback. They could have come to understand as well certain people in their lives' true colors: envious people, jealous people, deeply unhappy people that like nothing's good enough. They are only happy when like everybody else is unhappy around them. And so it's almost like they've come to some kind of revelation about sort of the mindset they were operating with in the past, and how that was very limited, or didn't really serve their highest good, and kind of created heartbreak in this situation. So there's a lot of regret in that sense. So let's get some initials. It can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got Q, U, C, Y, E, H, N, D, R, W, V, P, T, C, H, J, I, and B. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose this crystal. So let's start with the thoughts and feelings of your twin flame towards you at this time. Okay, we have Wheel of Fortune, the Emperor, Ace of Cups, and Journey. So it feels like loving feelings, admiration, and respect are all what is kind of the central theme or focus within your twin flame towards you at this time. It's almost like they're just watching you do your thing, watching you live your life, watching you take bold steps beyond your comfort zone, maybe things professionally or pursuing like longer term goals and dreams. And this is almost somebody that's like your biggest fan. They're like your secret supporter. They're like the biggest advocate for you and kind of living up to your full potential, or wanting you to kind of strive towards things that make you shine, that make you really joyous. It's a sense of like you radiate joy that is, it makes the world a better place. Like when you're happy, the world around you shines brightly. You have such a positive effect on other people, such a positive effect upon them. They may look at like your presence, your energy, your joy itself as medicine. It's very healing. They may be watching you at this particular point in time as you're working to kind of advocate for yourself, repair interpersonal relationships, maybe your relationship with yourself, looking at you kind of stepping into like the best version of you, or embracing that best version of you, encouraging that best version of you to kind of like come to the forefront, where you may have like hidden yourself for quite some time, or you had a lot of untapped potential, things you were working on very quietly behind the scenes, and it's almost like you're showing out, you're coming out now, and it's beautiful. It's just like wondrous to behold. You've really captured their attention, and there's a sense of almost like seeing that, continuing to open their heart to you, to this connection, to be very optimistic towards the future, that this can only benefit them. Any doubts, any questions, any fear that they may have had in the past about you, about this connection, about the future of this situation, or maybe this is somebody you're at a distance from that is wanting to reconnect with you. It's like all of those doubts have dissipated. There is a certainty. You're the one, you're the person. You're the one that is the most kind of complete package of love in its most authentic and intricate sense compared to anyone that they've met before. There's a sense of feeling that you are like feeling a lot of compassion towards you, almost maybe something they're aware of in like your journey or your struggle, things you had to overcome or go through, that it's like you've come out the other side of that, and you are so powerful in this kind of like soft and yet strong energy. You balance your light and shadow so precisely, and in a way that looks almost effortless, that you really have inspired your twin flame to no longer cut corners as far as things that they might have avoided or were kind of just being very complacent about in their life in general. This could be something where you've inspired them to start to take action towards bigger goals and dreams that they have for themselves, a motivation to move beyond like unhealthy patterns within, to seek and find ways to kind of open up to the idea of this connection more, to kind of like let go of grievances or hurt or like mistrust of love that they might have been harboring in the past. It's almost like you brought this person back to life. You've awakened them on a deep soul level. And there's a lot of certainty that they are already changed for the better through their experiences with you, through whatever has happened in this journey you've been on with one another up to this point in time. This is somebody who's getting ready to like step into a leadership role in this situation, but like you're leading the way emotionally, you're leading the way spiritually, you're a beautiful example for them, as far as like living a heart-centered reality, being very authentic to oneself. You demonstrate self-love in a way that is easy for them to understand, or it gets them very excited about the idea of coming into a better relationship with themselves, because it feels like in this way there's almost a sense of the nature of how this love or this love story can develop between the two of you. It's almost like it aligns with both of your best interest, or it's the product of like both of the best versions of yourselves really being kind of brought forth to a place of importance. And that it's that version, it's that vibration, it's that mindset that sets the tone for what they envision for the future. They may be thinking in terms of long-term plans in this situation, wanting to take things to the next level, wanting to take the next step with you. But it may also be something where you have certain things going on in your life where they're not wanting to steal the spotlight from you. They're kind of watching you in action with anything as far as like a transitional period or like big moves that you're making, in kind of overt or subtle ways in your life. And this is inspiring them to kind of get up and do something as well. Get up and no longer just be a spectator in their own life. It's like you stepped into main character energy and you've captured their heart. You've won them over in some sort of way by choosing yourself, the ways in which you kind of live that. It's not just a cliche, but it's your living reality, or you're taking steps to kind of make that the case. And so it's really encouraging them to kind of follow suit, to do the same, to put behind the toxic patterns and cycles, get in and do some of that shadow work, be more assertive about kind of living authentically, or really kind of being very honest about the life they've cultivated for themselves. And does this align with kind of what feels right to them on a soul level? Is this their purpose? Is this their calling? Is this kind of their mission here in life? Or is there something more? So this may be something that they're kind of considering like a collaboration, something creative, something where it may look very different for the two of you, how this manifests, but it's like your living example has inspired this person to take loving action towards stepping into their best life as well. This is somebody who envisions it almost when they think of the future. It's kind of like things you will do together with one another, something that like is created in tandem with one another through this relationship, but they almost feel like you'd be their biggest supporter, you'd be their biggest fan, you'd be that kind of like voice of wisdom and yet ceaseless encouragement as they took steps to break free of any barriers, any conditioning, anything that has been very unsatisfactory in their life. You're that person that, out of all others that they've ever encountered, you really have their best interests at heart. And you demonstrate what it means to have one's own best interest at heart, to where you're helping them break free of something where to kind of advocate for themselves. They may have dismissed that as being selfish in the past. It could have been a product of their conditioning. It could be somebody that's like a giver, or tendency to be like an overgiver by nature. And you have demonstrated kind of how to walk that line, how to have that balance between like giving to others and keeping enough in reserve to fill one's own cup. And then the world sort of benefits from the overflow kind of an energy, where they're very inspired by you. It's kind of just somebody like sitting there holding the space, being almost like they feel very protective over you, very protective over this connection, very like you may be in sort of a vulnerable place of like transition, transformation, and it's almost like I want to be there to be that support so that you're uninterrupted in whatever that looks like as you spread your wings and fly, so that you feel safe, you feel supported, you feel respected enough to kind of like step forth into this next bold version of you, and I'll be right behind you. I will follow suit in my own way. They're very excited, it feels like, about what the future holds for you personally, for them personally, and for like you as a couple. So let's take a look at some of the blocks, obstacles, challenges, and fears that they're dealing with right now. Okay, we have recognition and reward and material harvest. Yeah, so this could definitely be somebody who has like a fear of being seen in general, that may have led to almost a toxic level of being humble, where they had a very hard time accepting and receiving compliments. They may have had a very hard time kind of encouraging themselves to pursue dreams with the understanding of like, you can make it, you can be a success. This might have been somebody that just chose like kind of an easier path in life. Whatever their parents expected them to do, whatever was modeled to them as far as like, this is what adulting means, this is what you should strive for. That's kind of the road that they've chosen. This might be something where they've never really been celebrated for who they are. It's been very much dismissed. Any kind of talents, any kind of gifts, anything as far as like their own sort of personal dreams and aspirations that could have been different from like, what the expectation was, what the people around them were doing, something that may have led to kind of like an unconventional life, or something that would like break out of the pattern and the mold of the ordinary. It's almost kind of like they're very excited about something that you've done that is kind of You've broken with tradition. You've broken with the status quo. You've overcome perhaps like your lower nature, toxic beliefs, toxic patterns, limitations that were placed upon you by others or that you placed upon yourself. Something that has happened like recently in your life or that you've been working toward, that they are seeing you're at a place of success with that. You've got a good momentum going. You're going to achieve those dreams. You're close to that. You're prioritizing that. You've made that kind of a central focus for yourself, or you've carved out more time for that. This is almost a challenge because they feel very excited. There's something that you may be aware of, you may not be aware of. It could be like a talent, a skill, a gift, like a dream that they wanted to bring into a place of fruition that maybe they've mentioned to you or they've kept very hidden within themselves, that it's almost like, if I were to be working towards that, if I were to be striving for success in that way, if I would resurrect that dream or start to prioritize that in some manner, it would be honoring more the fullness of myself. It would make me feel more complete. It would make me feel more relevant, more valued. Not like time is just passing and I'm living to like make money, but time is passing and I'm making a contribution to the world around me. Or I'm answering that call within myself, or like that higher calling, something that they may be wanting to start to do that could in some way align with like things that you're doing. So this can speak about kind of like something they want to do together or build together, like a business, something as far as like advocacy, kind of like outreach, helping other people, giving back, or even just living a very self-actualized life, really honoring kind of those personal interests, those personal needs, those personal goals, what feels right, what feels relevant. And so it feels like it's almost a struggle to kind of break out of that mold, break out of that pattern, because they're seeing that you're growing, you're expanding, you're taking on more of your multidimensional self in the here and now, and they want to follow along with that. They want to be a part of that. They want to do that in their own right. They want to kind of become that in their own version, in their own way. And so it may be a struggle to kind of break out of the status quo, a fear of disappointing other people, or a fear of being seen for the fullness of who they are. So this is more of just kind of, it links in almost, it's like a personal sort of struggle or issue at this point, that it feels like very central to them as far as their feelings towards you in this connection. There's a lot of certainty, like you're good for them. This connection is where they feel most free to be themselves. They feel most supported. They feel most seen. This is a healthy connection, or to continue to invest or build leads to very like positive results. But there's a sense of almost like a version of them, an up-leveled version, a transformed version, something that's more of like an evolved version of themselves is the version, it's the best version, it's the better version, it's the more complete version. That's who they feel is like should be standing by your side. And so coming out of those barriers that have been placed upon themselves, I mean, this can speak about like a career transition, lifestyle changes, maybe even just prioritizing like a hobby, an interest, a talent, carving out more time for that, becoming more known, taking that out in some kind of public forum or in some kind of public way even that would be different because it would change the impression other people would have of them, how they've defined their life or been living their life up to this point in time in terms of routine, predictability, kind of the stable path, the certain path, moving out into kind of this adventurous energy. It's in tandem with kind of the adventure of this love story and kind of moving on into the next chapter of that. So there's almost a sense of struggling to kind of, they don't want to ask for that encouragement. They don't want to ask for help in that capacity. They've got to like get up and do this on their own. But it might be sort of a struggle to kind of balance all that out, what to release from kind of the life they were living before in order to make room, to make space, or to prioritize things that result in kind of a happier version of them, a more authentic version of them, being more true to themselves so that they can kind of move in the same direction that you are as well, as far as like dynamic change or really kind of creating a life of meaning for yourself, because they're seeing that like if we're both fulfilling ourselves at this deep soul level, then the love that we create with one another in a romantic partnership, it's just going to be all the more beautiful because we've created that happiness inside of ourselves first and foremost. So let's take a look at their potential actions towards you. Page of Pentacles, the King of Cups, and stillness. Yeah, so there's that energy of transformation, coming into like the fullness of who they are, something that might be like a gesture, something very sweet, something nostalgic, something romantic, like a little something that kind of demonstrates a level of like trust that they're investing in you, or they may let you in on some kind of plans that they're making to kind of escape the life that they have been living, or ways in which they've asserted themselves. They've made themselves known. They're making like their true presence or who they want to be. They're bringing that out in more of an open way, either in terms of how they show up for you or how they're showing up for their life in general, that there's some kind of credit that they give to, like, I've been inspired by you. I've taken this action in my own life because I really admire what it is that you've done. This can be some kind of like compliment that they give, something that kind of lets you know, like, I'm here. I encourage you. I'm on board with what it is you're doing. I'm in full support of kind of the way in which you are sort of reshaping your life, or that you've kind of chosen a particular path for yourself. I see that, and it's having a beautiful effect upon me as well. Something that kind of demonstrates more of like a flourishing for them. If they've been a little bit it's been hard for them to maybe express their emotions, this can be something that they like create, that they make for you. If somebody musically inclined, they might like write you a love song, or something of that nature, where it's kind of just, it's a very like heartfelt gesture, something that shows more of like who they are at a soul level, that lets you know that although you may be both kind of at this particular point in time sort of investing in kind of redefining your lives in some sort of way personally, that it's almost like we're in this together. We're working in tandem to kind of bring forth some sort of positive change within ourselves, within our lives. I'm taking steps in my own way to kind of like move in a better direction, or something that like really feels right for me in terms of, the life I've created for myself outside of this connection. But independent of that, I see that I want to create more closeness with you. I want to be able to kind of keep pace with you as far as these beautiful developments that I've noted about you, that I see taking place, the way in which you prioritized yourself and certain goals. It's having a very positive influence on them. And so that might kind of let you know of sort of like, they could mention something where they're like factoring you in the future, kind of like talking about things we and us, and it gives you more of that kind of perspective of like, okay, this could be a transitional period for the two of you as individuals, but on the other side of that transformation, there's the idea of kind of like, they see you as part of that next chapter, as part of that horizon that they are striving towards, that they're motivated to reach for now, as a result of kind of the positive example and loving example that you have set for them. So let's see what Spirit's guidance about the situation is. Okay, we have Sage, be devoted and committed. Yeah, so this is all about the energy of kind of continuing along this path that you have sort of chosen for yourself. Anything as far as like you're working toward dreams and goals, and showing up for yourself in a more kind of like authentic way, ways in which you're choosing to kind of bring that out, bring that wisdom of self, that knowledge of self, who you are, why you've incarnated here at this time, maybe even exploring that question, seeking answers, anything that you kind of discover, anything that you sort of develop in the process of that, or that is revealed to you in the process of that, continuing to do that. It's definitely captivated your twin flames' attention, and in their own way, they're in this place of like seeking answers, finding answers, moving into that place of stillness within, prioritizing not just mundane, real world kind of success, but almost like things in the immaterial plane, spiritual wellness, emotional well-being, the concept of kind of like energetic balance, and kind of meeting you mind, body, and soul within this connection moving forward. So continuing to sort of meet with your twin flame and kind of those higher dimensions, that 5D sort of energy, and also being very receptive to what it is that they sort of present and provide to you in terms of almost an up-leveling as far as their efforts or the nature of what is sort of provided in the material sense, in a 3D sense, because it feels like you're very in sync with one another at this particular point in time across all dimension, time, space, and reality. This is kind of like a big up-leveling for the two of you that may look very different individually, but it's almost like you're in tandem with one another. You're operating on the buddy system. You're helping one another in that sense. You're being that support for one another. You're holding that space for one another. They're very consciously and presently kind of aware of whatever it is you're doing, and they're holding space. They're sending you those loving vibrations. They may be giving you compliments or encouragement or support as far as that's concerned. Reciprocate that in any ways that you feel guided to, or that it's available for you, and understand that this is kind of like you're both sort of lifting up into the next level of your life, which then opens the door for a greater degree of being able to connect with one another energetically and materially in a loving partnership moving forward. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self. Okay, they say, I'm scared you will reject me. So this could be something as far as like an aspect of themselves that they've kept hidden, some kind of like hidden dream, some sort of goal, some sort of big change that they want to make in your life or in their life that they may not have told anyone about. And it's almost like, I want to confide in you about this. I want to share this with you. I want to build this kind of dreamscape into material reality with you. But there's a sense of kind of like, is that going to come across as like too frivolous? Is this going to come across as something that is so different from the portrayal that you've had of me in the past, or how I've been living my life up to this point in time? Is it going to fill you with a sense of uncertainty? So it feels like this is, again, somebody that's like getting ready to take steps outside of their comfort zone, redefine how the world kind of knows them, or how they've been received, the life that they're living up to this point in time. And it's a sense of kind of like, I hope you will support me through that process of kind of the growing pains of sort of stepping into an evolution of self. They also say, I want to take our relationship to the next level. So it feels like they're working on themselves, working to kind of live a more self-actualized life, or start to ask those questions. Am I just going through the motions of what other people have expected me to do? Or am I truly happy? Does this truly resonate with me? Is the life that I'm living going as I expected? And if it isn't, what can I do to make those positive changes so that I'm enjoying my time here on this earth and kind of being a force for good in the lives of other people, and also calling more of that into my own reality as well. And so it feels like in conjunction sort of with those questions, with that kind of period of introspection, there's a sense of almost seeing like the more they give authentically to themselves, or come to discover what their true wants, needs, and desires are, the more they're able to meet you in kind of this vibrant and very dynamic and very assertive energy that they're seeing you in right now, which is deeply attractive to them. You're going after your goals. You're cutting out the nonsense. You're radiating in a very high vibration, a very authentic vibration, and it's almost like I don't want to be somebody that's left behind. I don't want to get stuck in the stagnation, and you're moving off into another cycle. So it's like I want to rise to the occasion to meet you, and understanding that in some way that needs to take place as far as changes in their life in order to be able to kind of be that relevant person, that relevant energy, that relevant participant in the next stage of your life. They also say, it's hard for me to tell you the truth. So this may be somebody that, again, has had to kind of live behind a mask, live behind a facade. They may have a very rich interior life. Somebody that what they're doing on the outside is not the true reflection of like goals and dreams that they have within. They may have a lot of hidden talents, hidden gifts, things that they've always wanted to do, but they never really had the support to do that. They felt very fearful of being like vulnerable, fearful of being seen. Kind of just giving to other people to make them happy, but never really asking sort of, well, what makes me satisfied? What makes me content? What do I really want, need, and desire? And so it feels like this kind of goes along with the ways in which they've shown emotions or demonstrated emotions at this point. There's a lot more they want to say to you. There's a lot that they feel, but they've lived in a degree of not really being able to express their truth in a lot of ways. And so it's almost like a challenge to kind of truly express what they feel to you. So that can be like an important step towards their transformation, is expressing their emotions honestly through some kind of creative methods rather than kind of like short texts or one word answers, kind of getting into more of those in-depth conversations, not just breadcrumbing and trying to be in like a Casanova kind of energy, but something where it's like heartfelt truths, deep heart-to-heart discussions, things where they're not scared of vulnerability, not scared of, expressing kind of romantic things, and being very honest about the ways that you inspire them, the ways in which they feel very confident to kind of step into more of the fullness of who they are in your presence as well. So let's get some initials. Can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Of N, T, R, G, A, C, O, D, P, E, I, S, C, V, W, V, K, T, H, and X. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.